Yes, people, it's the Tech Time Podcast, episode 6. Before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe and follow at the Tech Time Podcast on all social media platforms. On X, just Tech Time Podcast. Got 3 special guests with me. Today's topic is men's mental health, as it was Men's Mental Health Month 3-4 weeks ago. So, gentlemen, I want you guys to state your names, what you do, and if you want to include it, your age.
Hello, everyone. My name is Quammy, and on social media, I am at Big Quammy on Instagram. On Twitter, I'm on X. I'm at Big Quammy05, and I am a clinical pharmacist. I'm also an advocate of mental health, and I do a lot of stuff. But in short, I call myself Shelf. I'm going to explain much about it whilst we're doing this.
How you doing, guys? My name's Chris. As far as the age goes, pushing 41. Married, 2 kids, in the family business, property. And also, Armani, I want to say thank you for having us on. Pleasure to be here. Looking forward to the chat.
Thank you, bro.
Can I just say I really like that type of intro? Already we've been vulnerable. See, I know things about you already. I bet you 5 minutes ago he's married with kids.
I'm happy to say
that's
my
what
age,
we
bro.
do.
I like it, yeah.
But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say my age today. No, I'm
No
joking.
way.
So, I'm Romaine Rowe on Instagram as Romaine Rowe. So I work in football. I work for the FA. But I'm a massive men's mental health advocate. Do lots of work in that space, in that arena. Work with men, coach men to become better versions of themselves. Really keen to get into men's mental health in this podcast today. So thanks for the invite.
Nah, guys, thank you for coming through as well. You guys have travelled. Let's talk about the distances you guys have travelled to just be here. So, Romaine, since you travelled the furthest.
Yeah, so I've come from down from Birmingham. So it's taken me about 2.5 hours to get here. But you know what? It was fine, man, because I've been looking forward to this one. So it wasn't a case of it being going out my way. I didn't really mind that because subject like men's mental health, passionate about it, with the right people in the right space, having the right conversations, it's worth the journey.
Mate, I would have travelled 3 hours to be here for this talk. Looking forward to it. Important topic. It didn't take me too long anyway, 40 minutes. But as I say, I would have driven 4 hours.
Bro,
So, as I say, important topic. I'm happy to be here, mate.
Do you pay mileage?
Pay for travel, yeah.
Don't worry, send it you boys.
Yeah. The silence, mate. I don't think we're getting the money back.
It's tumbleweed just went through the whole studio. Yeah. No, he thought I was being serious. He's like,
I have to think about that for a second.
We'll talk about it after. Don't worry.
I actually thought you was going to pay the mileage. So I stayed silent. He's gonna pay
He said he was sub us £10, I think. Towards.
Yeah, with me, I'm actually the nearest, honestly speaking. But as my 2 other gentlemen who are the panelists on the podcast today have made mention, it's actually worth the journey that we've made, because at this particular point in time, I've actually got other stuff going on, but I had to make and actually reserve every single thing, put everything on hold and come and sit in this sofa to actually have this important conversation led by Amani. So I'm actually coming from Enfield. So it's actually my local residence from North London. So it is something that is very dear to my heart. Henceforth, I've actually made all the journey to come to the studio to come and join the other 2 gentlemen as well.
Thank you, guys. Honestly, I appreciate it, man. Like I said, the topic today is men's mental health. I wanted to start off by saying, like, when for you guys did you start? I think it started to come to prominence maybe what, a year and a half, 2 years ago? I don't know if you guys will agree. You guys have been speaking about it longer than I have. When did you start to realize that this conversation, this topic was starting to pick up traction?
Me personally, I would actually say that the prominence of men's mental health as a topic really got to public attention when we heard about the suicide of a lot of young men, which it didn't sit well with a lot of people. Personally, I never knew about anything about International Men's Day. I believe I it really took my attention when I started being an advocate of mental health, which my mental health advocacy catered for everyone, male, female, young people, and you can actually name it, be it at work, be it at home, family life. I wanted it to actually cut across every place. But as I was advocating, I never saw anyone talking much about men's mental health. The only time that I heard anyone even talking about suicide on their social media platform was, I think it was one summer, and I think the person might have been from Croydon, and Michael Dapper actually posted him. And we got a lot of people's attention. A lot of people were dropping RIP, where are his friends? All these kind of questions were actually coming on. People were asking these questions. And with me, I was actually really shocked, to be honest, because when I saw the comment section, people were asking about his friends, couldn't he talk to someone and everything. I didn't question anybody's judgment, and I didn't end up pointing fingers at people. I rather was reading through the comments just to understand what exactly goes on when someone says, you know what, I feel like I'm done. I'm gonna throw in the towel, and that's it. You know. And through my advocacy, I've had a lot of people, females, males, share personal stories about people closer to them, or even they themselves wanted to actually end it all. But it took certain conversations or people convincing them or people speaking life into them that made them actually take a second chance of themselves. So after that, I never heard anyone talk about it again. So it kind of became something like, I would not want to say sensationalism, but it was not something that is not really engaging attention. You hear another person, their life on overdose, celebrities, that's when we get to hear about it again. So to me, I think the attention wasn't there, but right now, kind of growing at a steady pace. Hope that.
I think you've jumped on something then when you mentioned celebrity. So for me, it's nuanced to be fair, because when I think about mental health growing up as a child, you couldn't really articulate those feelings. And it's when we talk about the intersection of mental health and race, so coming from like a black community, like mental health just wasn't spoken about at all. It was just like, okay, you're feeling a certain way, you can, that's it, if you behave a certain way,
I think
completely
every
different,
foreign
completely
family
different
probably deal with
conversation.
that, don't they?
Absolutely. So it's a completely different conversation. But for me, I remember a few summers ago. Well, it's going back like 7 or 8 years ago. There's one of those programs, reality programs on ITV, and I remember there's a guy on there, like one of those good-looking guys, got lots going on, looked like a popular guy, left the show, come out the show, always in the papers, and ended up killing himself. But that just hit me a bit, and I'm not the type of person who, when you see celebrities passing away, I'm not really emotionally invested in celebrity like a lot of people can be, and putting up ROPs and stuff like that. This one, a young lad, committed suicide. He seems like he's got the world at his feet. I think when something happens in the celebrity arena, it does get gauge and gets a lot more interest from everybody else because people start speaking about it. And for me, it was more of a reflective moment. I thought, okay, so this has happened to this person. This is a person who, in my opinion, has the world at his feet. Then there's the why. So you start looking into why has this happened? I feel like when we speak about mental health now, I still feel like we're in the beginning stages. So we're in the awareness stage. So we still speak about the awareness of male mental health. So I can listen to multiple podcasts and I can listen to loads of YouTube videos. And it's kind of let's raise the awareness. I'm just ready to get to the phase 2 is, okay, then, so what's the how? So what do we do?
I'm going to say this. I think I really realised it. You might agree. When before COVID, or just when COVID hit, the world turned upside down, and then we were all locked down. We were all uh, bombarded with all this fear mongering and all that. And obviously, we didn't realise it was going to go on for as long as it did. And it was only at the end of it, see what 2 years, I guess, you come out of it, and then you're like, for me, it was like something's not right here. Something has changed. I wasn't even aware of my own mental state until after that happened. That's when it really, and then talking to people, it was like, I'm suffering as well. I thought it was literally just me. I thought something happened. I didn't even realize it happening. All of a sudden, I just was thinking, I had anxiety, and really negative thoughts. So for me, then it really kind of became apparent then. And then, like I said, talking to family members, friends, everyone's like, no, we're suffering as well. We don't know what's going on. Anxiety is the main word that comes up. So for me, then I noticed it then more, and then obviously as the world got back to normal, as they call it, is definitely not normal, but as they call it, the new normal. We were left with this resonance of this whatever traumatic experience that's happened, and then like I said, from that point on, we're hearing about it here, hearing about it there. Everyone's suffering, not even just men, everyone.
Everyone.
So for me, that was really the thing that made me realize I never really even suffered with severely negative thoughts, anxiety, things like that before that. I never really even noticed it. Maybe I wasn't aware of it. So that for me, I would say that was definitely the catalyst that kind of springboarded me into being more aware of how I was thinking and hearing other people's stories as well. But of course, as you say, you're hearing it more in the media, famous people, A-listers, B-listers, Z-listers, whatever. I think everyone suffered a massive hit from that. I think that especially, and now going forward, we're all aware that things aren't the same as they were, and somewhere along the lines we need to pick ourselves back up, find our momentum again. But as I say, I think what that did, in my opinion, is left a massive dent in everyone's mental health, especially men as well, because now obviously we're the ones who need to pick up the pieces. I pick up where we left off, trying to make our money, feed our families, find new job opportunities. So I think the pressure is now more on us than it ever was, and it's more apparent as well that we have to really make it work now, because as the world's going now, I don't think nothing's going to be easy, you know. So for me, it was that, I think.
Why do you think? Why do you think that men? Why is it as men we don't speak about mental health?
I would say amongst your friends, amongst us, amongst other guys, now we're all happy to speak about it. Whereas before, we never really did speak about it. As I say, I think, especially in the last 2 years, being maybe, if you want to say the COVID thing, whatever, I think we're all aware of it now. And we can have a moan to each other and we can relate to each other. I think, I think we speak about it more amongst ourselves now. But I don't know if everyone is aware, say maybe females, whatever. I don't know if everyone is aware of the pressure that's on us now. But I think we need to start speaking up a lot more now, a lot more. And again, the mental health side of things, everyone's dealing with it, of course. But I think it's a conversation that you'd be nice to have with a mixture of males and females as well, see where we are with that kind of mental health kind of balance. But I think it's picking up some momentum now. I think we are all speaking about it a little bit more.
I agree.
And happy to speak about it, and even makes you feel a lot better. But yeah,
There's like a huge social, how can I call it now? So there's the stigma behind men not speaking. There's a social shift, isn't there? So the pressure comes from society that men can't speak about mental health. So all you need to do is go on social media and you'll see conversations about men crying. Great example. I was watching a podcast that we were all aware of recently. It's a new one. And one of the people been on your show actually, but they were on, and there was a girl on the show and she was speaking about men crying gives her the ick. And I was like, it's a brilliant, we can laugh, but it's a brilliant conversation to have.
It's not ick.
So, okay, so let's understand what we're saying there. Let's unpack that there. So listen to the pressure you're automatically giving to every man listening to that.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to people who have that feeling, who have that thought process is, what is it that you're doing to support men in that space? Because what we're trying to do at the moment is create safe spaces for men to speak. And you can ask any woman, they'll say, yeah, we want to do that. And then if there's people out there, I'm using women here because this is just the one example, and we're using language and terminology that gives me the ick, I need to question, where's the support for men there?
Yeah, thank you very much. Adding to what Chris and Romaine has actually made mention of, it's a thing whereby men's mental health, the reason why a lot of men have not actually had the capacity or the boldness to actually speak about is because most of us actually grew up in a home whereby we were thought to be the men of the house. Even if as young as you are going to grow up to become the man of the house. Henceforth, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this. So it's a thing whereby at the back of our mind, you have to be the man. We have to end up be that strong person for the family. And if you are being strong and you end up expressing your emotions, it feel like you are being weak, which is what has actually done a lot of damage to most men because their emotions have not been validated. It's been invalid in the society. So some of them, because they cannot know or they do not know how to express it, it has end up being bottled in them for a long time. It's like, let me give you a scenario. We are here. A perfect experiment is you have a Coca-Cola, you have got mint or menthol, and you put it in. What happens?
Explodes.
It starts fizzing out. Explodes, isn't it?
Yeah,
When you try to cover it, what happens? It could even end up taking the bottle off. That's exactly how a lot of men had actually compacted a lot of emotions within them. They don't speak about it, they harbor it, and if it's not well controlled, it ends up being released in a wrong way, i.e., anger.
Yep.
People have anger issues. They go into relationship. Unfortunately, women become subject to such abuse. They go to schools as young kids. Any little thing that you say triggers them. They start to act in a way that if they had actually had the support growing up or within a stage in their life, that could have actually ended up getting it off their chest. That would have helped them. However, the mentality of men being strong is actually being misconstrued because I believe someone who is strong is able to identify their weakness, is able to actually know when to seek for help. Because if you're a soldier and you're actually at the battlefield and you don't know when to retreat and you always want to advance, I believe you're going to use your life to end up taking the bullets for the rest of your colleagues. Meanwhile, some of them are shielding, some of them are in the bunkers, some of them know how to dodge these kind of stuff. Some of the ass men, we don't know how to dodge it because we believe that if we end up taking a step back, we have actually deserted our responsibility, which has really inspired me to write this spoken word, be a man. And on that particular spoken word, it helped me to list some of the stuff about the support that men need. And at the end of it, I said the best form of support, the best medicine that men need is the support. Men are human beings at the end of the day. We need that kind of support from any person within the society, be it from other men, other women. But if we end up seeing men crying and calling it or adding technologies like it's an ache. No man wants to be seen in the media as being a joke or whatever. They'll keep it to themselves. But you don't know that man keeping his emotions to himself, not being able to cry, not being able to end up expressing it, is doing a damage within them. I'll give you a classic examples. 2015 actually happened in 2014. My granddad, he's the one who raised me. And unfortunately, 2014, he passed on. He's been the man I've known throughout my whole life because he's raised me. He raised me like his kid. So there are certain traits that I possess. There are certain things that he's done that I've stepped into. So having that kind of man as an example really gave a lot of support to me. But losing him in a short space of time, 4 years, because I left my country in 2010. So coming to this country and 4 years later, he's passed on. I felt like something big has left me. So what can I do? Should I internalize my emotions that he's gone? I need to shrug my shoulders and say, you know what? Life needs to go on.
Well, this is what they think. This is what people say. You need to
internalize it and then
not say anything and deal with it. Yeah.
If I have internalized it, it would have made the most damage to me I've ever experienced in my life. Yeah. Because I've seen loss, but I had not seen loss like someone great in my life lose his life. Spoke to him on Thursday, Sunday he's gone.
Yeah.
It really, I feel like it's ripped me. So fast forward, I cried. Like to the point of sometimes I'll be in school on the bus in this country, tears will be flowing out for no reason. I express it. I didn't have anyone to gatekeep my emotions. Someone actually saw it and told my mom that, you know what, I think you need to book a flight for your son. He needs to leave this country. Go to this funeral. When he comes back, hopefully it will help him. That was the time, that moment, I never knew anything about mental health. I was not knowing I was showing signs of depression.
Mm.
2 days before I left the country, that was when I actually end up Googling it because there's no one in the community I can speak to at that time.
Yeah.
Who can I ask? In an African home, where should I go and ask? I feel like I'm actually depressed. Today we are laughing about it because we've been able to actually come out of it and talk more about it. So I Googled it. And what even made it worse was every time I was taking paracetamol when I was having these headaches, I was going to school and I was losing interest day in and day out. I just want to leave school. And if anyone knows me, school is something that you can never get wrong with me. I will be the first person to be there. Even if they said, nah, there's no school. I'm like, why is there no school? I love school because I feel like education matters to me. But for me to lose that interest in me at a crucial time of my life, writing my A-levels, as one of the good students, there's something wrong. So I left and I came back. And when I came back, though I was still feeling those kind of stuff, but it got better. After that time, I was able to end up having that conversation with other people, other men. One of my friends, unfortunately, lost his auntie. She got told she's got a week to survive. He was really broken. The week didn't reach and his auntie passed on. When he was going to his auntie's funeral, one of the best advice I gave him, and I'm happy I told him, like, bro, I know you are strong. You are there for us. You are always strong. You have that kind of mentality that you shrug your shoulders. But that guy was going through a lot of pain. But one of the advice I gave him, because the funeral was on Thursday, Wednesday evening, I saw him, like, bro, when you feel like crying, cry. Cry on that very moment you see her coffin being landed in the earth. Yeah. Cry, because if you don't cry and you come back home, bro, it's going to break you.
Yeah.
Guess what he did? He cried. He had exam. He was able to actually, not saying he didn't feel the pain. However, he expressing his emotion at that time, coming from someone who has grieved before, it really helped him to be able to know how to express his emotions, and it was the best thing he ever did. So, to me, it was after I experienced it, and it made me actually become very vocal about it, especially when it comes to men's mental health.
You made a good point though as well. I think we'll all agree. You don't. I think with the mental health thing, especially men, you don't even get, a lot of us haven't even had the support from our parents. They weren't actually even, I don't know, is it just me? But because of the older generation, let's say, my parents never spoke to me, how you feel, like, they never kind of questioned anything like that. So not only you're not getting that kind of, let's say, that support, whatever you want to call it, support from the outside world, maybe people, friends, even at home, in our culture as well, it was never spoken about. It was never, how are you feeling? What's bothering you? If they see signs of, let's say, you being upset, it was never addressed. It was always, you'll be all right, put a kind of plaster on it, you'll be all right, get on with it, don't say anything, don't upset yourself anymore. And so I think with the kind of the mental aspect of it, I think for me, when, as a man, as you were saying, as a man, we are built to struggle to a degree. For me, I feel like if you're not, I'm happy to struggle or deal with things, because we're all going to deal with things. But the key point for me is that if let's say no one's there to kind of coach you along, validate you in to appreciate, let's say for me, for example, I'm married. If I'm feeling unappreciated, and it does happen at times because you fall into the same patterns of things. If I'm feeling low, I'll say to my wife, I'm not really happy at the moment. I feel like nothing I do is worth it. No one's saying thank you. No one's this. And, sometimes she'll listen, sometimes she won't. But, a lot of the time she'll say, no, you're right. She goes, she'll say, you're right. Listen, we really appreciate what you do. And she'll validate me. I think with a lot of people, when they're going on their journey, a lot of guys, it's unforgivable. Like there's no one there to say to you, you're doing a good job, pat you on the back. You're not really getting it. Like I said, parents as well. If you go down a road of, let's say you want to be footballer, this, that, and the other, there's only a few parents who are really going to stay behind you. They'll just let you get on with it. But again, for me, I think the mental health starts to suffer, especially as a man, when there's no one really there, just keeping an eye, just saying, look, you're doing a good job, and that for me is where the this downward spiral starts happening. When there's, you don't want to always say to someone, look, I want to cry, I'm upset. But you want someone there just to notice at points and say to you, look, just keep going, you're doing a good job. Do you know what I mean?
It's a good point. It's a good point. So if I look at this from like a coaching aspect, like you probably similar as well. So I think as men, what we can lose in life is purpose.
This
So
is
if we
purpose.
go back,
That's the word. Yeah.
If we go back to school, there's always goals that are set for us.
That's exactly right.
You're
yeah.
speaking like the teacher coach at that point who's monitoring you to say you got an A, well done.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
didn't do
yeah.
well, even if you didn't do well enough.
No,
to
but you get a little
you still get
acknowledgement.
feedback.
You get a little
Absolutely.
acknowledgement.
So one of the things that I'll say on my Instagram page is when I'm speaking about mental health and coaching people is, okay, let's regain our purpose. So what is our purpose? So what is your purpose of belonging? I like to call it your gold. What is your gold? What's your driver? A lot of people say kids, and interesting, I don't have kids, so it's easy for me to say this, but I'll say they're not actually the drive that I'm looking for.
No.
So because you need to be 100% to be 100% for your kids.
Absolutely.
It's like if you heard the aeroplane effect. It says, you're on the aeroplanes and the woman's doing all the man. He's doing all the arm gestures, and they say when the mask comes down, what do they say to do?
Do your own, do your own.
first.
Yeah.
Do your own first.
Yeah.
But natural instinct, you'll always do your kids. I can't even imagine this coming down. And me sitting there worried, my kid's sitting around, I'm sitting there putting this mask on, and I know myself, I won't even get it right. So I'll be sitting there fiddling around with it.
You have to try.
My kid's lips will be turning blue.
To see that you don't know how to do it.
My kid's lips will be turning blue, and I'm sitting there trying to fiddle out with these strings, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
It's absolutely that.
It's
interesting.
exactly the point,
So
though.
if we come into one of the coaching sessions, one of the first things I'll be saying to you is, what is it you want to achieve? What is it you want to do?
Yeah.
Just strip it all back. In 3 months, what's a win for you?
Yeah.
I'm not asking you, but in general, what is a win for you? And we'll peel that back and we'll say, okay, then, so what's the first step to that win? We achieve that first step.
I think a lot of guys would benefit with a life coach. It's a very good. I was thinking about it myself, but I think you have to be really settled in yourself to provide that service. But I think a lot of guys these days, especially young guys, would definitely benefit with exactly what you're saying. Just someone you can
Guiding
check in
them.
with, guiding you. Just even if whatever area it might be, but it just keeps you on a.
Yeah, this is what I do. So yep, you can sign
I knew that. I knew that anyway. But I'm just saying.
We can sign positive to Romaine.
Should have given me the ETA.
Yeah. What's a discount?
But absolutely. So the most successful people in the world, they all have coaches.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
in
yeah.
football- So I work in like elite football. So,
Yeah.
I can work alongside like, the England football team. So the best players, like your Declan Rice's, your Jude Bellinghams, they have coaches. Football coaches.
Yep.
They have them to become better. But they don't just have football coaches now. They have the psychology, they have the performance, they have all different types of coaches to make sure they get the best out of them physically, emotionally, mentally, all aspects of that person to get their best. And it's the same with us in life.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. We touched on like the death of a family member, close friend, as some of the issues that contribute to men's mental health. But what are some of the other issues that you've noticed? I put down here like work pressure, financial issues. Like, is there anything else for you guys that contributes it?
Relationships.
Relationships, yeah.
Do you know what's interesting as well? Because I'm going to say I feel like mine's a successful relationship. I've been with my partner for 11 years. We got married a few months ago.
Congratulations. Again.
Congrats.
20 years, mate, and then we can have a proper conversation. 20 years.
You know what's interesting? So I was on a podcast with you a couple of weeks ago, and I was listening to people who've been in relationships for a lot less time and listening to the pressures that they have. And I was thinking, pressure becomes harder in a successful relationship.
Oh, yeah.
So we're in this world, we're in this fast food relationship world at the moment. It's like Tinder. It's like switch.
Yeah.
So you don't need to have the hard work. You don't need to have those difficult conversations that I have to have with my wife or she has to have with me. But for a relationship to work, we have to have those conversations and I have to listen. It has to be two-way. It can't be a tell approach. It has to be an us approach where we both listen. And I feel like a lot of relationships, I've got friends, man, I know people, I see it, and the relationship seems very toxic. The female could be one way or the man could be one way. You're looking at it thinking, you guys really need to talk. And what happens is those type of couples end up existing. And they're existing in this world that isn't really full of love. And then what happens is they'll have a child, then another child, then a dog, then a cat, then a house, and in a relationship that they don't really want to be in.
That's a lifetime of misery when you set yourself up like that.
Yeah. And that's from a man. We're looking at the men's lens here. So that man, have a look at that man. He hasn't been happy for 10 years. And now he's got 3
Yeah,
kids
yeah,
with a woman
all
he's not happy with. He's in a job that he's not happy with, and all these pressures just going boom, 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 boom. And by the way, Quammy, thanks for sharing your story. I haven't thanked you yet, so
honestly.
that's what I like to hear. Some really vulnerable. The story was really nice to hear, man. You know, I'm glad you got through it the way you did.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
I have to say, I've only cried a handful of times. And I think, I don't know, you might, because you touched on it before.
Yeah.
For me, when I did cry and I was really broken, at the end of it, I expected to feel a bit better. But actually, I almost felt like an air of, feel a bit ashamed of myself after. Even though it was reciprocated, but my wife, you know, she was there with me. And like I said, it's only been a handful of times at certain points, low points. But I kind of felt a bit upset with myself for even letting myself get to that point. It's really weird. I think like with the men where you're so taught to bottle up.
Yeah.
And then once you open the floodgates, I kind of feel like I made a mistake. It's weird. You shouldn't really feel like that.
Yeah. And also sometimes too, it's to do with who you open up to. Because imagine you've actually reached that point of your brokenness and someone comes and even say worse stuff to you being broken.
Yeah.
That one is actually a deadly time. I'll be honest with you. That one, it feels like, you know what? Yeah. I feel like, you know what?
That's the word.
Let me just raise my hands up. I'm a loser.
Yeah. That's how you feel. I felt a
yeah.
little bit like a letdown. That's exactly how I felt.
I would not say that you have actually let yourself down. I'll be honest with you, because with me, after the loss of my granddad, it didn't even end there. I lost my grandmom.
Jesus.
6 years during the COVID, and I was going to my final year. I lost her during that time. So I was dealing with some university stuff. Prior to my grandmom actually going, prior to that, 2015 was when I buried my granddad. 2018, I lost my sister. I buried her in 2018. And they got buried in the same month, which is January. So,
Wow.
After my granddad, if I had not taken my mental health very serious, what could have happened?
It
would have actually happened again in 2018, isn't it?
Yeah.
2020 would have happened again. But in between that as well, there were certain losses that I actually encountered. But to me, opening up in the first incident on actually knowing that someone closer to me has gone, is gone, it made me know how to react when it comes to certain situations. It built me up.
Yeah.
Not saying that I didn't express all through those incidents, I cried. But however, because I have actually taken my mental health into consideration, and I've been open and I've been aware of it, it made me learn. And that really helped me as an advocate, because one of the quotes that I read, they said, becoming an advocate of mental health is you even becoming good at how to manage your mental health. Because you know the parameters, you know the heights that you reach. Like, you know what? I feel like I've reached my point. If I go further, that's my breaking point. And once I reach my breaking point, it's gonna have a toll on me. So all those kind of stuff helped me, not because I've gone through it, made me better. I've gone through it, but I got the support. I knew how to go about it. I knew how to be able to communicate about it, not to internalize it. Because I'll be honest with you, when I went to my granddad's funeral, no one knew what was happening. My mom didn't know. It took me 3 years for me to open up to my mom, because it reached a point whereby someone very close to me had experienced it. Then I was like, you know what? I think it's time for me to tell my story. Because I feel like this thing is doing a damage in our community, and no one has ever talked about it. No one on social media is talking about it. Everybody is shrugging their shoulders and moving on in life. Meanwhile, people are suffering in silence. I need to talk about it. I remember that time with the conversation. I walked straight into my mom's room. She was there. I'm like, Mom, I've got something to tell you. And with me, my mom, everybody who knows myself and my mom, you know that our relationship is a great one. I don't hide it. I will speak. Though, you know, sometimes those who argue with your mom and everything, sometimes that kind of thing happens, but it wouldn't last. Because it's got a point that, you know what, all right, let's forget about it, man. Let's move on. I need to accept my error. My mom would say that, you know what, I'm sorry. Let's move on. You get what I'm trying to say? So that kind of balance helped me to be able to initiate that conversation. I used my story to sit my mom down and have a communication. Bear in mind, in their generation, no one talked about it. And those generations are the ones who have raised us. So if we have been able to see it, the only thing that we can do is we need to share with them. because they didn't get anyone to actually talk to them about it. And let's bear in mind, it's not like our parents didn't go through mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
It did. The struggle. Some of us, our parents
I
migrated.
think they bottled it up as well.
They bottled it up.
They don't speak about anything.
They bottled it up because
Yeah.
me, when I look at it, my mom left her sisters, migrated to this country, come and actually end up set up a new family over here. That alone takes a strong
strength.
mental
Yeah,
fortitude in this code. Imagine this code. You've come to this country and you are new in this country. Where are you gonna get help?
Yeah.
Friends are gonna help you, but to what extent? You get what I'm trying to say? So they have bottled it up. They have gone through it. And if we don't take care, we might have ended up actually continuing with the cycle. Our children are going to inherit
well,
it.
that's what happened.
Our grandchildren are going to inherit
Yeah,
it.
that's what
And
happened.
it takes a generation to break it. So I'm happy that our generation as men have been able to even find a time out of our busy schedule this evening to sit and have this conversation, because a time will come, we'll reflect and we'll see this video down the line, 10 years down the line, and we'll go back to the video and realize that, damn,
It was the start of
we
it.
talked about it.
100%.
We talked about this,
And
and
you
we
know-
are proud that that kind of thing they didn't carry into our adulthood, into our elderly.
yeah.
Because
Well, I've
honestly-
got two boys. I've got two boys, young, 7 and 9. But I'm very aware, and I make a point of being very aware. And we speak all the time, and I make sure I speak to them. They don't always get it because they're still young.
Yes.
But I know if I keep at them and keep aware of how they are and what their behaviours, and even now I'll notice that I say, you're not acting right. And they won't tell me. And I'll ask them again a bit later, and they'll say, well, actually, you know, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
And as long as I keep doing that, and again, having two boys, dealing with my own stuff as well, I'm happy that I can at least be that person
there.
for them. My parents obviously did their thing, but they didn't do what I needed. But I now know what I need to do to get the best out of them and make sure that they don't deal with the same things. You know,
You know what's interesting about that? I don't know if you notice, there's been a bit of a trend when we speak about mental health. We talk about our individual strength about speaking about mental health, but a lot of people don't have that individual strength.
they don't.
Not
Everyone does.
What
no.
you've exampled there is the allyship. So you're going searching for it.
Yeah.
So in your instance, you was
That's really
fortunate
good,
that
yeah.
you were strong enough. You didn't have anybody to come to you and say, "Are you
Yeah, yeah.
okay?"
Yeah.
You're doing that, and that's what we call it. That's the allyship
Mm.
from an allyship lens, and that's what we need more allies in this space.
Exactly.
Who are asking those questions.
Yeah, yeah.
Because at the moment,
Definitely.
the reliance is on how strong am I.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not strong in that moment,
You're not
how
gonna
many
say,
people-
yeah.
I'm not going to
You're-
say.
yeah.
I need you 3 people in this room to say, Romaine, you're not the same guy.
I think 1 out of 10 chance you might say, you might actually open up.
Yeah.
And you might have to be really broken.
Yeah.
And really up against it. But most of the time you might think to, but you probably will shy away from it.
Isn't that a great question as well? So when we talk about depression, ultimately, can people spot the signs?
There's
Can-
education
and there are
bit.
signs. There's
It comes with the
education.
advocacy
Some-
bit as well.
You mentioned some of yours.
Yeah.
You mentioned some of the things that we'd notice.
Yeah.
So you said school.
Yeah.
Your behaviour changed. So people become withdrawn. They can become angry. You mentioned all these things. So when those behaviours change, and this for anybody who listens to this
notice it,
podcast,
yeah.
for everybody here, when those behaviours change for people, what is it you're doing in that moment? So when people commit suicide, one of the things that people say all the time is, I wish they spoke to me. I wish they spoke to me.
But it's not that easy. It's not.
Not
it's
even that. A lot of the times they could have. Just not verbally.
And,
Yes,
and
A lot of the times they could have.
touching on that point, Romaine, about are we able to spot the signs? 9 out of 10, the signs do not show.
Well, yeah, it's true.
I've had someone, whilst I was actually sharing with people about my EP that I've actually written about BMN and everything, I had one of my colleagues, she vulnerably shared this with me, her own brother. She got a phone call from an ambulance that the brother has taken his life. It says, prior to that, if anyone said her brother was going to take his life, she would have actually ended up saying that you're lying. He's not going to do that. Because
Never
he was
see
the
it.
bubbly person.
absolutely.
He was the
Always
go-to
yeah.
person. He was laughing. They had a family gathering. This guy was having the best of his life. You know, so we have got a time whereby people are able to hide their emotions because they are so scared of how people are going to point fingers at them. Because right now, we live in a social media world whereby people come on social media and express their vulnerability. What do? People take screenshots and end up saying that, oh, he's an attention seeker, or he's trying to take attention, go deal with it, or be a man. All these kind of words, what does it do? It suppresses the person. So touching on how you said how the pressures of what coming on men, apart from relationship, which Romaine and Chris touched on, one of the things I think actually does put a lot of pressure is what kind of friends are men working with? What kind of people are we working with? Are they people who tend to validate how you're feeling, tell you to just shrug your shoulders and move on, or people who really bring solutions and plans on the table? Because a lot of stuff bottles down to the education bit. Some people do not even know how to support a friend when they are going through these kind of stuff. You will hear a lot of people, what could I have done? What do you want me to do?
I actually, sorry to cut you off, Quammy. The
Chris.
same thing happened to me. It was, I didn't want to touch on it too deeply, but last year, same thing happened. And I was told that my friend was feeling like this. And I hate to say, I tried to deal with it in a very small manner, but in my heart, I didn't really think he was capable of doing it. And truth is what you just said. Now I'm thinking to myself, well, what was the plan I should have taken? Unfortunately, it's gone. It had to go that far for me to realize I was aware to a degree, not that he would go way over the line, but at the same time, I'm thinking, but what did I do anyway to even maybe help? I mean, I spoke to him, we spoke, and I gave him the spiel, but really words aren't enough sometimes when someone's gone that far. And that's why I realised that's the scary thing about it. When you say, if you're not seeing it, that's one thing. When you see it, and you don't, what do you do as well? Because let's say one of us was going through the same thing and we voiced it. There's a lot of people that say, look, you'll be all right. It's not so bad. And that's kind of what I did. I kind of went over it, maybe in more depth, but I thought, I don't know. Look, mate, you've got kids, blah, blah, blah.
And
what do you
do?
Isn't
it? So that's the thing. So we go to school, we learn trigonometry, we learn Pythagoras' theorem, we learn all these things. And I know you're probably very good at these things as well. Well, in these situations, we feel like absolute amateurs. So there isn't a framework that we can actually go by. By the way, it sounds like you've done enough in that moment, So my advice would always be to the three main things you can do is listen, be patient, educate yourself on the situation.
Yeah, definitely
That's
educate yourself, 100%.
So it's very difficult to give opinion. You used the term earlier on, and you don't want to invalidate somebody. You're going to say, that's okay.
This is
much
what
worse
happens,
over there. Everybody's entitled to be feeling bad.
It's the worst thing you can say to someone when they're feeling bad. You'll be all right. It's the worst thing because we've all been there, haven't we? And you're feeling shit, and then someone says to you,
been there.
I'm telling you.
And then someone goes,
you've been there. Shrug your shoulders, we'll be all right. I'm like, no, because with me, I've been running this as an advocate, which is something I started this year, microaggression. I touch on microaggression, on how we need to respond and everything. And as Romaine gave it, listen, we need to educate ourselves. We need to be there for the people. All these forms comes in a package of the form of education. Some people don't know where can they find these resources. It's like when, I don't know if you gentlemen will bear with me. Every summer, what do we tend to see on our social media? Protests on the streets of America. Based on what? Black Lives Matter. Do you know that a lot of people get hit by those kind of campaigns? Why? Because some people are hiding behind social media spaces and pointing fingers at their friends because they feel like their friends are not being supportive. Their friends are not joining. But their friends are also over there and asking, what can I do to support? Maybe that friend cannot be on the streets protesting. One, because they've never done that before. Who is holding their hands to take them to their first protest? And it's not everybody who can be on the street protesting. Some people
they're not strong enough as well.
Are not strong enough. Maybe physically.
Yeah, physically as well.
They might also be facing their own problems. So what do they tend to do? They end up actually going on social media. Teach your friend, you can repost this. You can do this. And people do not understand the strength of people's voice. Just a few days ago, there was an incident that happened, it didn't happen a few days ago, but we got enlightened a few days ago about a school in Islington. This lady actually posted on her social media about what she experienced, the nephew experienced in the school. Bear in mind, this incident has happened, the case has moved, but this lady took upon herself, go to the school, approach the head of the school and make a video out of it. Within the space of 2 or 3 days, do you know what's happened? She got one of her friends who is very, very vocal. It got viral on Sky News. BBC called them. ITV called them. Local newspapers called them. Everybody wants that kind of... they want to come and actually take a coverage of it. You know, that boils down to when it comes to mental health, men's mental health. What can people do differently? When we educate or when people start to repost, it goes far to make it viral, to make a lot of people to educate themselves. That's why some people like me, when it came to National Men's Day, I took up on my platform to share that Be a Man. Because if you listen to that podcast, it lays it bare. Like if you listen to it, you will get to know the kind of support or the kind of stuff that men can do to support men, women can do to support women. To me, it's a form of education. We don't get taught in school, but it needs someone who would end up dedicating themselves to share it, to be able to use their life experience, to be able to come out there and to be vulnerable and actually share it. So, as you made mention of that, people say that, you know what, you need to shrug your shoulders. Like, it's hard. I have seen someone, I've never seen that in my life. 2 weeks ago on Friday, on the North Circular, I was coming back from church at that night. I finished prayers. I was coming back. And I was driving. I was about to actually get on the North Circular because I was coming from North Middlesex, that space. So before you jump on the North Circular, you have to wait for all these cars on the motorway, on the big high road to give you the sign to jump on. So whilst I was about to jump on, I was in my car and I turned to my right. I saw the ambulance parked on the pavement and I seen this guy closer to the North Circular. In my head, I'm like, what's going on? So it took me a space, just less than 1 minute, for me to recognize that this person is about to take his life. I need to do something about it. I quickly jumped out of my car, parked my car somewhere, and just came. I asked the paramedic, are you all right? He took me the signal because I didn't want to actually shout for his attention to be on me than the guy, because if his attention comes on me, the guy will resist and, kill himself. So they were behind the barricade and I could see that the paramedic was struggling, quickly jumped. So as I was getting nearer, the guy made an attempt and I knew that this guy wanted to take his life. I just quickly held the paramedic and we held the guy. It was not the kind of guy that two men can actually help. Then the paramedic called another ambulance that we need help. We came. I have to use all the strength within me to make sure that this guy stays alive. We started speaking positive words to him, like, no, and his name is Lewis. It's like, oh, they're like, oh no, it's like, guys, leave me alone. It's my time to go. We're like, no, Lewis, it's not your time to go. You need to be alive. There's a reason to leave here and there. So whilst he was trying to resist himself, we were trying to pull him and say these words. Lo and behold, an ambulance came and we managed to grab him and take him inside there. And the guy, I'll be honest with you, the guy's he's in his mid-20s.
Jesus.
That's my gauge. And it says something to me. And it made me realize that, you know what, if I had not started my advocacy,
You may have driven past, maybe.
I would have driven past.
Not even been aware of it.
I wouldn't be able to, because it takes a lot of humanity to actually say that, you know what, let me stop everything I'm doing and just go and attend to this guy. And tomorrow,
That's a really good point.
I can guarantee you that guy would have been on statistics.
Oh, yeah.
Someone has actually, what did he do? He took his life. And I would have sat down and said, wait, I think I know this guy. I heard about the story. The guy took his life. Damn it. But by me helping, it made me realize that, you know what, there's a purpose to what I'm doing with advocacy. Day in and day out, whenever we see these statistics, every second, a man actually, a man takes his life. We may say, like, no, that's pure statistics. But if you've seen it with your eyes, you're like, damn it.
Yeah.
Some people's life is on, because at that time, it's like, you know what, it's between life and death. We have to choose life for this guy, because this guy should live.
Well, you see, it's, in your 20s, that's the saddest part about it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of, I used to say, obviously I'm 40, going 41. I say it to my brothers in his 20s, whatever, and I always say, what you young people got to worry about? Because in my days, in the 90s, whatever, there was nothing to worry about. We never felt like this. And I always say to the young people, what you got to worry about? What problems do you have? But in a way, I think to myself, when I really step out of it, I think actually there's a lot that could be going on, because, again, maybe I touched on it earlier, these people may not have the parents there to deal with them mentally. They may be work to the bone. They might not have a relationship. They're trying to earn money in this world now. They've got no one on them really to tell them, you're doing a good job, keep going. This is part of the journey. They think that it stops here. I mean, life's a long road.
Yeah.
There's so much more. You're going to go through peaks and troughs. What feels like the end of the world today may not feel like it tomorrow. But I think with these young guys, especially, maybe mentally they're still not really equipped in that sense to realize there's over the hill, there's light. So I used to say that a lot, but no, I think a lot of younger guys now, they're just not seeing the bigger picture, and it's sad. And that guy that you're talking about, my worry is, and I've heard it a lot, these people that are willing to go over the line and let's say take their life, they're obviously struggling so badly that they're willing to do that.
Yeah.
The question is, at some point, because again, going back to myself with my friend, when I look at it and we look at all the signs and we go back a few years, he was always had it in him. Something was going to trigger him.
Mm-hmm.
So you may have saved, you can try and save someone at that point. But what can we do to stop it happening again? Because at some point, it's like an addict. They might come off the booze or drugs, whatever, but something will trigger them. At some point, they may, because it's in them. I feel like someone who's willing to take their life, I feel like that's just something's in them. They've got I don't know what it is. There's a switch. It's scary. That scares me.
It comes as sometimes it comes as the symptoms of actually feeling depressed, because it's part of those suicidal thoughts, because it starts as a thought before it becomes an action.
Mm-hmm.
So those thoughts is something that lots of people cannot control, but it can be controlled by the person having loved around him.
Yes.
Letting people understand that this and that. Having people to sit him down and explore. But it's all about the exploring. Because if you're exploring, there's one way or another, the person is going to end up speaking out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
but to talk to them is not going to help.
To talk to them, nope.
To, as you say, to let them open up in their own time is probably the best way. Yeah.
It took me a long time for me to actually end up doing that, and I'm happy that I always do that. When something is going wrong, I want to dig to the bottom of it, because I'm not the kind of person who wants to deal with a problem by just touching the bare surface. I would, even if I have to dig to the depth of the oceans, I have to, because
I'm like that as well.
It's like a plant.
I'm like that as well.
Whenever you see a solid or a big tree out there, remember the roots, the strong roots that is there, that is
that's
connected.
The most important bit, though, isn't it? That's the that's the most important part.
It's the most important thing is to actually dig down to actually find the problem. Because if you find where the problem is coming from and you tackle it from the source, it will be better than to actually end up trying to actually touch, because once you touch it, it's going to actually end up resurfacing. As you made mention of an addict. If the person is taking alcohol to suppress their problems, first of all, what is the problem?
It's the problem is
it money? Is it monetary issues? If it's monetary issues, have you got a job? No, I haven't got a job. Okay, let's help him to find a job.
Yeah.
We don't actually end up saying that let's hide alcohol from him.
Yeah.
If alcohol is away from him, he will find something else.
He will not drink at that time.
He will not drink at that time, but he will find something else to replace the problem. So all the time, it delves down. Why is the guy feeling angry? Why is it that he's not willing to open up? I've had conversations and they tell you that my friends don't care. You will have about 3 or 4 or 5 men's friendship groups. Take all of them out and ask individually, do you trust your friends? Do you have honest conversations? What conversations do you have about? And you'll be surprised. The kind of stuff that will come out.
Jumping on that. I think a lot of the time it's down to, this is probably the 2 words I probably like people to take away with is, I like to promote this, is emotional literacy. So a lot of the time, people don't know how to have those conversations. So in that friendship group, do you know how to articulate, process, understand, talk about your feelings? I'll ask you, black and white, can you? And the answer is going to be no for a high percentage of males in groups. So what happens is, that's when they internalise all their feelings because they can't articulate it.
And they can do it all wrong, can't they? Yeah, I mean, you can try and help, but if it's not the right way.
It's like the baby, I call it the baby theory. I think I made this one up, actually.
Actually, it's a good point, yeah.
So I haven't got, you've had kids, so.
Got 2 little boys, yeah.
When a kid cries, what does it mean?
Well, it's distressed in some way.
They're expressing something,
But what can't they do?
Can't vocalise it.
Can't vocalise what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it happens with men.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it can
yeah.
come out.
it's-
So men,
yeah, it's
have
true.
you noticed that men who get angry, people who can't really articulate themselves?
Yeah, yeah,
So the
it's
big
true.
guys start
It's
shouting
true,
and
it's true, you know.
screaming.
It's true.
It's because really he can't really have that.
Offload.
Take the emotion out and have that conversation.
Yeah, and even touching down on that, I've actually seen it. I always tell not only my male friends as well, I tell my female friends, because sometimes some females also have that kind of anger within them as well, because they tend to actually be
To say
very
the least.
quiet. They tend to be very quiet, and all the time I tell people, don't
Smile.
end up compacting those emotions. Speak it out.
Yeah. Well, women are
Because
very good at that, I think.
some
We-
you may think.
I think they're very good at that.
You
I
may think,
that's
but
the-
some also may end up not knowing, because to me the communication bit is not only pertaining to only men. Some women too might end up not be able to articulate. And remember,
Well, if
some
they
people
come at you the wrong way, then yeah, you're right.
when
Then-
they come
then-
at you the wrong way, like I never knew that you are
Yeah,
that
you might
rude.
as well
You're mad.
You might as well forget the conversation.
You just
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah.
So
But-
as I tell people, the thing is, once you know it's hit you,
Yeah.
find the right channel and
Yeah,
communicate.
yeah.
Because if you end up making it get to the point of it has really angered you, it's gonna come across in the way that no one is going to actually hear it. Same applies to our fellow men. Because if my brother's like, yo, bro, how you doing? I say, bro, I'm good. Oh, there's something that I want to share with you. I'm like, what? It's like, oh, yesterday when we went out, I was like, yeah. It's like, oh, there's something that you did. And I feel like, oh, it could have actually be dealt with in a different way. I was like, what? It's like, oh, like you put me on the spot by, asking me all these kind of questions in front of these strangers. I don't know them. And I feel like a little bit under pressure. Henceforth, I became a bit rude to you, or I became a bit rude to them. By me having this conversation, I would dip and say, oh, thank you very much for sharing. Next time, I really think about it. It's different from someone come to me like, yo, like last night, what are you doing, man? Like,
Yeah. But that's how
what
it
the
normally
heck? What
goes,
was
innit?
that?
Yeah, yeah.
I was
And that's
like,
the more
yo,
common conversation.
Yeah.
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
no, calm down. Like, what do you try to say? No, calm down, man. Like, you set me up. Like,
You set me up.
you
Yeah, I
set
like
me
that.
up. Those kind of words. It's like, you know what?
Unforgivable.
Like, they'll use those kind of P words
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Like, you are this, you're
Yeah,
that. Don't
yeah.
do that again. If you talk to me like that, I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? It's two things. It's either I become the bigger person, calm him down, and have that conversation with him, or guess what? I'll walk away. End
Yeah,
of
not
friendship.
bother. Yeah.
I'll not bother.
Yeah.
And that is what's happened. A lot of people have chosen the route of, I'm not going to bother.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the one to
That
change.
do you know what? Though? There's a fear with a lot of people. So
Yeah.
I talk about friendships all
Yeah.
the time. So ultimately, people think longevity means friendship. Was your friend? I've known him 20 years. I've known that's not a justification. Well, that's your friend. You've just known him
Yeah.
for 20
Yeah,
years.
Yes.
that's a good point.
He's
Been around for 20 years.
He's
hasn't
been
he?
around for 20 years, but
He's been around
is there
for
any
20
connection?
years, but what does he do good for you? So, and I always ask people. So, look at your friendship groups. Literally pro and con it like you would on a piece of paper. What are these things, these people doing for you that are benefiting you as a human being? Are they supporting you? Are they there for you? Are they driving you? Are they helping you with your purpose? Holding you accountable when you tell them your goals? Are they doing those things? If the answer is no, you can get people around you who do those things, so why wouldn't you?
I think. No, go on if you.
And it is that accountability.
Yeah.
That big word.
Yeah.
That is where it will end up actually closing a lot of friendships.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, some people end up don't want to lose that friendship. Guess what? Because the vibes around them is good. We talk about this, we talk about that, but we are growing at a certain age. We are actually coming at a certain time that the people that you call friends, I read it somewhere, and it's really true. Those are the people that your sons and your daughters are going to call uncles. Those are the people that
It's true.
your sons and your daughters are going to say that, oh, Dad, this uncle is in this firm, is in this law firm. Would you be able to help me to get there? Those are the people that are going to come around your kids once you grow up, coming to visit in the homes. Are you going to open your doors to allow them in? You get what I'm trying to say? So it reached a point whereby, honestly, sometimes some females actually have these kind of accountability within their friendship groups and know that this is the end of the friendship. Let me pack it and let me go. But when it comes to guys, sometimes it does not end up that way. Sometimes it ends up being like, let me just hang around with him here and there. Unless maybe they
You stop
move,
speaking for a
they
bit,
stop speaking
as,
for a
as
bit,
regularly, but
and it becomes a full silence
Yeah.
here and there.
When
Or
a night
maybe,
out comes out again, Mr.
Yeah,
Vibes
yeah.
is there, you're
Yeah.
phoning them.
you get what I'm trying to
But
say?
as you get older anyway, I think your friends will
Gets
always
smaller.
change. Yeah, you get
Yeah.
smaller.
It gets smaller and
then
it
you get
changes.
married, and you end up. For me, I've only literally got, I'd say, there's people I see, but
Yeah.
very few,
Few,
two,
yeah,
three
that's
friends.
true.
That are
Because
really
family
close.
becomes the priority.
There's nothing wrong with having acquaintances, many acquaintances.
No,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
you need,
of course,
you need
100%,
people to speak
100%,
to.
yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely, I'm fortunate, and I know I'm fortunate. So I have a very small amount of friends. And
Yeah.
I'd say I've got 5 very, very close friends.
Well, that's
who've been
it.
friends
Yeah,
for
me
10,
three,
15
probably
years.
Yeah.
three.
And to be fair, I've got very close extension of that friendship group as well.
Yeah.
I've got about 3
Yeah.
or 4. And in terms, you talk to trust, rely, have conversations with. I'm looking at these people. It's about 5, 6, 7, 8 now who I can have these conversations with.
That's good. Yeah.
And I talk to other people. I've got 1, so I know I'm very fortunate to
Yeah.
have that. But is it fluke or is it design? Because I encourage this to be a conversation.
Yeah, that's
Would
true.
the people be having these conversations? Probably. I don't know.
But again, at a certain point, I think if you're going the right way, that's exactly what should happen anyway.
Yeah.
If it's not,
should
and it's going the opposite way, then you're doing something that's not right
Agreed,
within
sure.
yourself. You know.
Agreed.
For me, my wife is the person that I speak to. I hate to give her too much credit, but to be honest, is the main one I would speak to. I would go to her first. I mean, I've been with her over 20 years, and sometimes she, like I said, sometimes she'll come back in the right way, and sometimes she don't. It's human nature. But for me, I would go to her first for anything. Again, we've grown up together almost effectively. So I'd go to her before I go to any friends, really. But as I say, I'm fortunate. I've been with her a long time, so she knows me too well. Sometimes if I do speak to her, if I'm not met with the right response, it can be a problem as well. You go back into yourself, You
know what's interesting? Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, no, go.
No, I was just gonna say, there was something that you posted, Romaine, and I was watching one of your clips, and you said that men do want to speak about it. We mentioned, the women in your lives, but there's a fear of, and you talked about it before as well, Chris, where you said you felt a bit, you felt good about it, but yeah.
Well, I feel a bit ashamed after.
Yeah.
The reception.
I'm ashamed after that. I let myself get,
And there's and I wrote it down as well, a fear of being, what we've said, there's a
Looked
fear
at a
of
bit
being,
weaker.
or being used against us, weaponized.
Yeah, but
I don't
Do you remember? Yeah.
but it will at some point.
It will.
And it always does, honestly.
Yeah,
I've had that.
That's what we don't want to do. So when we want to be open, having those conversations, especially with women, in those type of relationships, probably another podcast like friendships with females. So when what we don't want as men, if we're going to be open to our partners, is for them to weaponize our words against us.
Yeah.
We don't want to hear that, or we don't also want to hear our feelings invalidated. But I feel this way. Oh, but I also feel this way. Okay, in this moment, just listen to me. Because I'm the one who's brought this to you. Let's have that part of the conversation. And then we can speak about you that next time.
Yeah.
But in that moment, it's not a competition.
Yeah.
Don't invalidate my feelings. And then also don't weaponize the things that I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think we're going down a good road with this one, because I think the majority of men's mental health, again, we can speak to each other about it to a degree, but I think the problem comes when the women are not aware of how to deal with us firstly, or even accepting that we have issues and that we struggle. They don't almost want to play part of that game, because then it takes the attention away sometimes from them. And
I would say that I'm happy, Chris, that you've actually brought that topic, honestly speaking, because going back to the International Men's Day, I'll be honest with you, I had a conversation with people and I asked them, did you know that last week was International Men's Day?
they didn't. No.
Like, really?
Women, you
What?
mean? Women.
I asked both women and men.
Yeah.
They didn't know.
Oh, not even men as well.
Not even men.
To be honest with you, I was unaware as well.
Yeah. So
I don't watch too much social media though.
It shows how much that such a day is not really being used to promote.
Oh, but they know
certain stuff.
Women's Day. Oh, they know Women's Day.
We know about the day, right? It's the truth. International Women's Day. Who doesn't know the month? It's March.
But listen, my
It's a
wife
big
told
thing.
me. She called me. She told me.
You know
She
what I'm
goes,
trying
you
to
do
say?
reckon I went, whatever,
I was like,
man.
what's that?
Just make sure dinner's ready later. Do you know what I mean?
You know what I'm trying to say? So
No,
to
but
me,
she called me. She told me. I said, I don't give a shit.
To me,
whatever. But
it
the news
shows-
tells them. Even everyone's so
Yeah.
You know what
and
I'm trying to
women.
say?
And what do? They keep reposting International Women's Day. Look, blah. But men, because we're not really going to do that. Let's be honest.
And
No.
Amani, it's International Men's Day.
Let me jump in.
Yeah,
We
Romaine.
started this conversation because you was upset that people wasn't aware.
No, I wasn't
Obviously,
upset.
But you found it shocking that people wasn't aware.
I wouldn't say I was.
Let me just jump in.
Yeah.
And say people wasn't aware.
Yeah.
And then you've just said that we're not just going to go and do that. So I feel like there's a bit of a
Well, there is a
position. Yeah, as in. So
Well-
which one is it? Do we want to make people aware, or do we not want to say it?
I would say that,
Question.
honestly speaking, where do we start from? On that day, I celebrated it, and I've been celebrating it, I'll be honest with you, for the past like 3 or 4 years about the International Men's Day.
When is it, by the way?
It's on 19th of November.
Just so I know, yeah. Just so I know, yeah.
To our viewers, it's 19th November.
Yeah.
Every single year,
November
9th of November. Women, I remember it's March because I've been part.
My calendar.
Yeah. Put it on there.
Give me a call.
I've been part
just let me
of.
know a week before, yeah.
Yeah. So the challenge I'm throwing to every single man, every single woman watching this, 19th of November, send it to the men in your life, your colleagues, your friends, your co-workers, your neighbors. International Men's Day. Let's celebrate it. Let's let it become a norm in 2024. So if you're looking for New Year resolution 2024, that could be part of it.
Curveball. What do you want people to do on that day?
That's what
On
I was
that
going to say.
day-
I was just going to say that as well. What should we do?
Fantastic. So International Men's Day, we could actually use that day to actually have an open conversation, not only about men's mental
Street
health.
pie.
We
That's
could,
what I'd rather do.
we
All
could,
the men. Just,
we could even end up organizing a men's dialogue on that day.
Yeah.
Because how many times do men do talk? We hardly actually talk. We always are at the, in our seats and, listening. Because with me,
we have to listen.
I'll be honest with you, I personally have used my platform to celebrate women. I always do, because women, not only about International Women's Day in general, because I know the role that women have played in my life, bringing me up. From my mother to all the people coming up, my sisters, my aunties.
And it was never a toxic upbringing. Oh, so you're lucky in that sense as well.
Exactly, my female friends, in my relationship as well. I've got all these people who have really been there, pat my back. I speak to them, I open up to them. You can understand. So International Women's Day is something I always celebrate. But celebrating International Men's Day
as well,
does not take the credit or does not take the attention from women.
Can I ask a question, actually?
Yeah, Romaine.
So International Men's Day, how old is that?
International Men's Day, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how old it is,
Not
but
too
it's
long, I don't
not,
think.
it might not be too
International Women's
long.
Day, how old is that?
Oh, so lot.
We could actually Google it.
Yeah, but I'm only asking the question because it's kind of like the Black History Month. Why do Black people have Black History Month? Because if we're going to go down to the history, why is there an International Women's Day? I don't know why. I would have thought it's because of the misogyny of how chauvinistic men were in
The suffragettes and the suffragees,
yeah. So and I thought that's why that day would have been created.
Okay.
And on the back of women having this day, then a man has said we'll have this day.
Okay, let's talk about.
So it's like
let's talk about Father's Day.
Maybe it's not for what it should.
It's not.
Can I just say, it's I'm picturing now. Next September, these guys from the EDNL or whoever, they've got White History Month.
Yeah.
Am I going to have the same energy?
Yeah.
I'm going to say no.
How long?
I'm just trying to figure out because it's different days.
He's made
It's 8th of March.
Why don't we make the day then? Let's just do our own one then. Whatever, man.
Even let's talk about even Father's Day.
Yeah,
but
again,
Father's Day is in June.
That's the same.
It's the same thing as well. It doesn't.
Same.
But I think right now Father's Day is getting better.
Yeah.
It is.
Father's Day is getting better because I've seen people celebrating.
You know what day is Men's International Day?
Which one?
Every day, because men rule the world. Men rule this world. Women are
Well, it is, yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
But
this is another
Men
conversation.
feel like they need to have a day for themselves.
Yeah.
I'll question the person. I'd like to know who created that day.
Yeah, it's weird because I'm looking. It says I've put the question out. When was International Women's Day established? It says 1975,
which is around this time.
Rubbish.
That's what I don't.
Rubbish.
I don't know.
And anyway,
what about International Men's Day?
There's no such thing. You can't.
Because what I'm trying to actually clarify is that. What I'm trying to actually clarify, I think that day.
I'm joking.
I don't know about the reason why that day was actually created, but so far as there is a day like that do exist, I feel like we could capitalize on it to talk more about, let's say, health, because I'm coming from the health side of things. So there are so many kind of conditions which is predominant among men that is not talking about. I was an advocate for I think it's prostate cancer. Yeah, which is really, really, really common.
Oh yeah,
among all men
and black men especially.
Black men and even black men. Do you know which black men is really predominant among? You'd be surprised.
Age.
No, which country is very, very common in
Africa?
Africa.
Country, sorry.
Africa. Which country?
Ghana.
No, Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it must be an old, not younger guys. I mean, not.
So in this country, for you to be diagnosed, you have to, or for you to even end up being checked on the NHS around, I think, the age of 50.
Yeah.
And by that time, if someone has started developing it, in their
Problems,
30s,
yeah.
just get see what it could actually possibly
To
happen.
be checked, by the way, just to clarify, to be checked by the NHS now, it's
To be
different.
checked 5-0.
It's 5-0, unless you've got people in your family
Who
if
have
you
That has
go
got
for it,
there's a
it's-
history behind it.
Yeah.
You could actually
But I
validate
know
it.
this.
By the
I've
way,
done this recently
International
checked.
Men's Day apparently started
Push
in
them.
1999 in Trinidad and Tobago. Apparently,
Yeah. Meeting.
Yeah, can you clarify the age for me, because I want people who
It
are
won't be
watching
younger
this to
than.
be able to.
I don't think it'll be too
I think it'll
young.
be 50.
No, I think you're right on 50.
Yeah, because
You're right on 50.
But even Mediterraneans is quite a predominant.
it's a predominant thing.
Yeah.
So for it to be very
Okay.
common among Nigerians, I became an ambassador of it through the award that I got. Black I've forgotten about it, but it's an award that I actually got, and the organization was was actually promoting this, and I became an ambassador of it, and I started actually adding my voice to it. It's something really common that is hardly being talked about. So days like International Men's Day, we could have such conversations, prostrate council, encouraging men to go and do their checks.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes if you're lucky, then the NHS will draw attention to it that you need to come and check. Sometimes too, you wouldn't. So if you are not, days like those would help us to end up drawing that attention. We're not saying that that day should be reserved to, or only celebrate men for the good they have done, but also use it as a day to engage in conversation, enlighten people that we need to be doing these, i.e. mental health, prostate cancer, fatherhood. A lot of people do not actually get opportunity to actually be open. Some people are living in the house with their biological fathers. Yeah. However, they didn't have that kind of bond. Those kind of days could be used to end up throwing light on it.
I'm all for creating spaces, because I think that's one of the main things that we can do to help tackle male mental health. Create safe spaces to have conversations.
Barbering shop. Barbering shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah, but
Bro,
that's
the
where you get the
barbers-
best.
Yeah. Oh my
That's therapy.
God.
That's therapy, though, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's very
It's
Oh,
therapy, yeah.
I thought I was the only one.
absolutely.
No, it's a therapy from.
But the problem is it's therapy there, but then you go back into the real life after, and then you're bombarded and you're absorbing all this other crap. So sometimes
It's true.
It's you can't get away from it. Just even that's not enough sometimes.
It's not because. Do you know the number of men who actually go to the barber shop not to get a haircut,
Just
but just
to
to
get
engage
in
in
there.
conversation?
I want to know.
But listen, correct me if I'm wrong. I see black barbers. A lot of the people, no one's having their haircuts. They're just literally, they're just sitting there. They're sitting there, and everyone's talking and walking around. They got it, and even some of the barbers have got their earphones in.
Yeah.
I had an experience at the barbershop the other day, which was a bit different. So I thought all black barbershops were the same, but Jamaican and African barbershops
Are different.
the vibe's different. The vibe is different.
Tell me the vibe.
Nah, no, both vibes are up here.
Yeah.
It's exactly the
No,
same.
it's crazy.
Heated conversation.
Yeah, heated conversation. The African conversation.
Yeah.
The African
But
conversation.
they argue their barbers, they're doing their hair and they're actually having full blown.
I'm telling you. But to them, you know that to
Wow.
them as well, one way or another, it's a form of therapy for them.
That's a good
Yeah.
point.
Because
It is.
my barbers is not far away from here. I shout out to Diamonds on Tottenham High Street. It is a barbering shop that every Ghanaian guy, one way or another, has had their haircut over there, right? To the point of even the neighbors start calling police because some people just have some kind of street, not party, but they'll have their own speakers, just be having their drinks over there. And the neighbors actually called the police and they got banned from actually standing over there. But inside the barbering shop,
Tottenham, isn't it, really?
it's Tottenham. Inside the barbering shop, people come there, all the oldest, as old as 60s, everybody sits there, have a conversation. By the time you realize it's midnight.
Yeah, man.
You have to go home.
That's what the bar's for.
But that moment, you feel some sense of relief because
Yeah.
if a lot of men comes as a community to share their problem, you realize that, you know what, as much as you are facing this, it is not unique to you. That helps you to step back a little bit. Okay, we've identified the problem. What's the solution? How do we go about it? So I feel like the solution bit is where we can actually end up seeing. There's not going to be like a booklet over there that will list the solution. But however, having people like mentors, having people to be able to create such a space in the barbering shop, to be able to have these kind of conversations, honestly, because as much as we can say that the barbering shop helps with that therapy, it could also be a toxic environment.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because some
well,
people-
it's probably a little bit
A
toxic.
little bit.
as
Because
well.
some people, you go and meet that guy
Yeah.
who share his problem and say that this is how I dealt with it. It's like, oh, okay.
Do you know what?
Maybe
You know what, yeah.
that could be the solution, but it's not. You know, so by picking up the good bits out of certain conversation, help to support or help to shape young men like myself.
The barbers are toxic now. Got my haircut there a few months
they're
ago.
nuts,
£25.
Yeah?
That's
they're
toxic. Yo,
He's talking about that toxic
£10.
bit.
It used to be £10 not too long ago.
But let me tell you, there is what I say.
£25.
There is what I'm
Does his
saying.
head look like it needs £25?
You know what? I can actually help you. You know what? You can actually leave your hair grow. When it comes to London, I can take you to Diamonds. You can get it cheaper than that. £10. We're still doing the
Come on,
£10.
it's a long
Oh, you're going to say? I don't mind it. £25 a go, he's doing it himself. Yeah.
People are paying
Why pay
£50, you know?
But,
for a haircut.
I'm telling you.
I'd need counselling after.
But
Yeah.
listen, and so just saying, Amani knows anyway,
Yeah.
but I was a hairdresser for years, did the women's hair.
I could actually see that. Your
yeah?
your
You like
style.
that? I do it
I can
myself.
see the style. That's a nice one.
So you're talking about in barbershops and this banter and all that, which I kind of like. I was doing women's hair. I was like, a lot of the times in salons, I was the only guy there as well. And at the time, being young, I kind of liked it to a degree. But I stood there and I listened to women,
Some of the
one after
conversations,
the other,
yeah.
after the other.
What did they
and
say?
It poisoned, well, you don't.
You don't want to hear it.
It's another podcast, but I'm telling you, it poisoned my mind, man. And listening to how they think and just kind of relating to kind of where the men think and how they think is black and white, man. Like it's
Yeah.
And
Do you know
and
what you might have took up from that though? Being able to talk.
Were you able to
Yeah,
talk about
yeah,
it?
yeah.
That's a good point.
What you'd have witnessed
Oh,
in that
no, I did.
environment is people being open, having conversations.
100%. And actually, I was very shy when I was a lot younger. And then I went into that, which is quite mad. But yeah, you have to, especially with a woman, with a guy, you can talk rubbish to a degree. But with women, you kind of have to be a little bit more on the ball and a bit more aware. But yeah, no, I mean, it was beneficial in some ways. But yeah, back to the point, they were just listening to the way they deal with things, the way they thought is completely different.
Yeah.
I feel like it's actually to do with the compromise, understanding each other, because there's no way that we'll be able to understand each other.
Not
If you get what I'm
fully,
trying to say. Not fully.
no,
Not fully.
yeah.
But if
We could never, I
the
don't think.
compromise comes and we see the middle ground and we build it from there.
Yeah, if both parties are able
Both parties. So
to find that.
when I started with my advocacy, I said that, you know what, when it comes to men's mental health, same as women's mental health, every opposite sex has to be in the room when they're having that conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I feel like, imagine, so just doing the International Men's Day on the 16th of November. Am I right? Yes, 16th of November.
19th.
19th.
November.
No, I mean the event I went to.
sorry.
17th of November. Because International Men's Day was
checking.
just checking. I remember, it was a Sunday.
Fact check.
So
Kwame
19th
is
of
correct.
November was International Men's Day. It was a Sunday.
November as well.
And on the 17th of
September,
November, it was a Friday, and I went to my friend's event. They have got something like, it is owned by my two I call them brothers, because when I came to this country, we went to the same school. I looked up to them. That is Edward and Richard. I'm giving you a shout out. So they have actually come together and they actually had that kind of barbershop kind of talk. That room, after I was gonna just see only males over there having this conversation, but obviously it's International Men's Day, so males are gonna be part of there. Are gonna be the main panelists. But females made themselves present in the room to listen and to be able to ask questions. So what can I do?
Well, that's where we need to go. That's
That is where we
exactly
need
what
to
needs
go,
to happen.
100%.
But a
Because
lot
what
of
can I
women
do?
won't. But Alen, sorry to interrupt you. A lot of women actually are not comfortable with accepting the reality of
I made
the
myself
answers they're going to get.
exactly.
That's true.
I made
Yeah,
myself
that's a good point.
present during the International Women's Day. I was there, and it was actually in civil engineering, not civil engineering. It was engineering led, women in STEM. So one of the questions I asked, because most often some jobs are gender tagged, i.e. engineering is a man's job. Medicine, pharmacy, it's a woman's job. But statistics shows it, you know. So one of the questions I asked, because at the end of the day, they all classify under STEM, I asked the female panelist, what can men do differently to support women in STEM to be able to climb higher on the ladder? And one of the people came and I said, you know what, that's a very great question. Because for you to ask that question, it means, first of all, you're open to help.
To the answers, though.
Exactly. You're open to the answers. Second of all, you've also had that deep thought Okay, I've seen women always not being supported to climbing that kind of ladder, to be managers, to be CEOs in top STEM companies, i.e. Hospitals, engineering companies, tech companies here and there, which now we are seeing that kind of development coming on. So it made them feel relaxed that, you know what, we've seen this person wanted to help. Some women also have that conversation. What can we do differently to help men when it comes to their mental health? Yeah. Because one of the things, I'll be honest with you, that a lot of men tend not to actually, they shy about is when they know that, let's say, their partner may be a contributing factor to how they're feeling. I.e., whenever they bring out something within themselves, it turns into an argument.
Then they'll never speak. Yeah, this is very common though.
You know what I'm trying to say? They'll be reserved. I was like, okay, if I'm going to actually speak about it and it'll be an argument, then to make you happy, I'll keep it to myself and I'll keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. It's dope that you mentioned that. Sorry to cut you off, but it's dope.
No worries at all, money.
Romaine, this is a post that I saw from you again. Ladies, it was titled "Ladies: 5 Reasons Why Your Man May Not Be Speaking to You."
When was that post?
I don't know, maybe a few months. But I remember it because I had to write notes about it.
What were those 5 reasons?
Fear of burdening, social expectations, self-doubt, difficulty expressing emotions, and you mentioned it, avoiding conflict.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's one of those ones where it's like I said, men, we would want to speak to you, but it's like, will it turn into an argument if I bring it up?
First of all, let's say that I'm not generalising on women.
No, of course.
We've got to be careful that we're not as well.
Definitely.
Because women immediately in my space and they don't fit any of the points that you're speaking about. And but those are absolutely the points. And if I was doing women's mental health, I'd flip them the same way as well.
Of course,
the exact same questions. But ultimately, we need to feel safe in those spaces to have those conversations. And what are the 5 points again?
Fear of burdening, social expectations, self-doubt, difficulty expressing emotions, and avoiding conflict.
But as a woman, but again, we need to ask someone who would pose this to their, let's say, other half or female, whatever. Would they, if a female was told those things, I wonder what they would say.
That's true.
Well, what do you mean? They might say, well, what do you mean? No, you can't say that. You know, it would be nice to say it and for them to look at each other and say, okay, where maybe could I better these points for you? But again, you'd have to ask a woman. You'd have to kind of really get a woman's point of view, see if they'd be open to.
Yeah, I mean,
from what I've seen, and again, even with my wife. She's open a lot of the time, and sometimes she's not.
Yeah.
Sometimes she doesn't really understand. So maybe, you know, some things, I don't know. Sometimes I think some things are just not, they're just not willing to kind of get.
When you've had conversations with your wife, we use the example, and say she hasn't understood, how does that end?
I normally drum it into her, if I'm honest. I don't leave it. And again, I've been with her so long, so I don't let it go where Armani knows, we've spoken about it a lot
we've had conversations about this before.
I refuse to just accept, okay, let's leave it. I make a point. And again, I'm saying this because she was 17, I was 19 when we met. So we've grown up done so many things. So I refuse to just live like that. And I've said to her, and Armani knows as well, if that's the relationship we're going to have, I'd rather not have that relationship. And I'm honest with that. And she knows that. So I'd never leave it. So there are times where she won't be open to it, but I make sure at least by the end of it, after however way I've gone around it, that she at least gets something of it, or at least agrees to something, or at least understands something. Do you know what I mean? Even if visibly I can see she might be having a hard time, she will at the end, again with a little bit back and forth, most of the time we will get near where I want it to be. You know, and you're not going to get everything right every time. Yeah, of course. Even from my point of view to her, I'm not going to please her in every sense or understand everything, but I always make sure I try and find what will make her feel better at least at the end of the day. And she does the same. So again, it's not always plain sailing, but we try and get there. You know,
100%. But sometimes too, does that do with the personality of the person?
It will 100%. It does.
Yeah, that's a good.
100%. Some people just not.
They don't want to communicate. They just want to be reserved. But with me, all the time, whenever I actually end up, because I know that naturally some people are really reserved. They wouldn't talk about it. They wouldn't
defensive or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
So many different things.
And with me personally, there's so many stuff I have to unlearn, because the environment that we grew up, with me, the environment I grew up in, school had a very big impact on me. And the education system in Ghana, where I grew up, is different from here. Over there, it's very competitive. Very, very competitive. That
In terms
you
of
want
academically,
bro,
I know.
you want to get those A's.
I know Ghanaians, and they are.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, proper.
So you want to actually get, like, I was in a class whereby every question that gets asked, I want to answer it. So I go home, I read through my books, everything. Because I want to show, doing that, I didn't know that it was a show off, right? But to me, I wouldn't say it's a show off. To me, it's a way of me expressing my academic, like, prowess, honestly speaking. Because if I'm sitting in the class and I'm not answering the question, 9 out of 10, I'm not learning, I'm not engaging. When we are giving the exam, I'm not going to score higher marks. But if you're able to show your opponent or the one that you are trying to actually challenge that, you know what, I'm smart. When you go to the exam as well, you show it on the paper, I'm smart. So not knowing, growing up and having all these mindset was developing. I can speak for myself, I can't speak for other people.
Self-esteem is a...
I would say that it was making me competitive outside the class as well. Every time, I don't want people to speak. I want to be the person to always be speaking. I want my voice to be heard. You get what I'm trying to say? Until it reached a point. But on the flip side of stuff, that kind of competition helped me to be on my toes, because the opposite of not being competitive is to be relaxed, is to be reserved. But I feel like if I've been reserved, my academics, I wouldn't have been where I am. But the other side I want to talk about, the opposite side of it I want to talk about, which I had to unlearn, was being competitive beyond my academics and become competitive in life in general. So it reached a point whereby every time someone is answering a question in class, I'm the first to, even if the teacher does not say they are wrong or try not to question, I say, no, they are wrong. Why? Because this and this and this and this and that. Which means it's kind of like I'm not giving people the space to express themselves, which to me, it was a very bad trait. But I had the conversation with one of my teachers recently about that kind of thing, who is one of the teachers who has really, like, groomed me to become who I am today. He was like, Quammy, it's not like you were not smart, or it's not like someone was trying to actually take the shine of you. It's because the environment that we are in, you wanted to prove and showcase your academics. You wanted people to know that you are smart, you're capable of doing it. But because we are living in an environment that if you don't showcase that kind of thing, they're not going to put a value on you. That's the reason why you were doing that. So it comes back into the other side of my education, that if I don't showcase that kind of threat to other people that, yes, I'm making my point, it wouldn't end up making validation of my point, you know? And do you know that if you are looking for a job opportunity in this country and they do the group task and they see that you are the only one that is answering those kind of questions, there's 9 out of 10 that you're not going to get a job. Do you know what that showcases?
You're not going to get the job.
You're not going to get a job. Do you know what showcases? It shows you cannot be a good team player. Why?
Yeah, it's
because
true.
you are not allowing your other people in the room to speak. So guess what?
Well, it depends what job you... But
but
it's interesting. I take those group assessments in some of
those group assessments. Those were...
So I take them.
Yeah.
And when we were observing, you know, the person who always gets the job, by the way, usually the quietest one
is the one who's going to get a job.
Who organises the time.
Exactly.
And they'll say, there's only 5 minutes left.
Exactly.
That's the person who's on task.
Do you know the reason why I wouldn't get a job in that particular point? Because to be a good team player, you need to be able to end up designating the job. You need to share the job across. Yes, Romaine, you're going to be the timekeeper. Chris, you're going to be helping us with planning the thing. Quammy, I'm going to make sure that I take everything into account. I'm the general overseer. Money, you're going to make sure that you do the research bit, bring that thing and do it. The moment I start showcasing that and I end up even get reserved, we are going to get a job. Not only me, all of us. Why? Because all of us are playing our roles so well. But if I become, you know what? All right, Romaine, what did you say? Oh, no, your point is not valid. Oh, what did you say, Chris? Oh, no, it's not. What did I say? Oh, mine is good. It means you're trying to actually end up pushing people down. So I have to start unlearning these kind of stuff. And by taking that, it helped me in life. It tends to actually help me to ensure that actually boils down and comes back into our relationship and our friendship as well. If we tend to end up overshadowing other people and their feelings and not ready to hear them and not ready to actually take into consideration, they'll not be willing to actually come forward to communicate. Because you think you know it all. So
Oh, I hate
I'm not-
people like that.
you know what I'm trying to say? I'm not gonna
I
come
hate
to you
people.
when I'm going through my struggles because I know that that weaponization that we are talking about, you're gonna use that. Yo, I thought that you were smart. I thought that you were strong.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that. Okay, I thought I was strong. I thought I was smart. Okay, right now I'm not strong. I'm struggling.
Yeah.
What can you do?
But we're
differently to
human.
help
We're,
me?
we're all human, and no one's perfect, and
No
we're all
one.
gonna shine in some ways and lose in some ways.
Yeah.
You know, it's life, isn't it?
I think as well, I was watching the RIP, I was watching the Kevin Samuels broadcast and he was like,
Yeah.
a lot of times, men, we aren't humanized.
The goat.
Yeah. We
Sorry,
aren't
we don't wanna
humanized.
hear it.
And he'd always use terms such as like, you know, when it's from women to men, learn how to, and I thought about when Chris was saying how like, you know, you want to feel validated, you want to feel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Learn how to, yeah, exactly. You want to
Appreciated.
rap to a brother, respect, appreciate,
Yeah,
praise. And there's on a women's end as well, aha moments, AHA, accountability, honest, and accept. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's one of the things I think is very important. And these conversations are so important. I think we need to continue to have these conversations, continue to push the, you know,
Agenda.
of course, 100%.
Yeah.
Any messages that you want to send, you know?
Yeah. So thank you very much, Amani, for this
Nah, it's all
great
good, bro.
conversation. It didn't even feel like we were having
Honestly,
a like, it didn't feel like
I think-
we needed to
I
be
think-
like,
goodness.
I think we need to do another one. Or
yeah, we can
definitely.
actually do this over and over.
Only if you bring food next time.
Yeah.
Next time,
I got
next
yeah,
time we're
yeah.
gonna have a platter.
We'll be more
Honestly,
prepared next time. Don't worry.
we finish speaking. That's a keep out.
Yes,
Let me just have
exactly,
one.
exactly.
There's surely podcast etiquette.
That's true. That's true. That's true. And also, you know what? Quickly before we draw to a close, and I want to go around and ask, you know, the messages that you'd like to end on as well. Chris, as well, again, you brought up when you said you have these, you know, you ask your sons. And I remember when we was on the Missing Piece podcast, Romaine, when I asked the ladies, all right, cool. We as men are taught to treat women, right? But then I flipped it to them. I asked, shout outs to Alicia and Sarah, by the way, for the Missing Piece podcast. Dope episode, dropping Wednesday as well. Do you guys do the flip side when it comes to, you know, when you're raising your daughters, are you showing them how to treat men? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day,
That's a very good point.
do you know what I mean?
actually.
Yeah.
So I broached that, and it was interesting to see the response. They kind of, I don't know if you remember.
But they didn't like it, no?
Yeah,
They didn't like it.
No, it's not.
No,
They just didn't think. They didn't
think it that
about
way.
That's why I
Yeah.
go back
They
to
see it that way.
No, they didn't think about it.
They didn't think about
Like,
it. But they
think
never,
about-
yeah. But
Of course. So that's why.
You know what's
They never
interesting?
did, yeah.
Guys, you know what's interesting? So we've deviated into speaking
I
about
know, yeah,
how
yeah.
women can treat men.
Yeah.
But the start of this is that we don't know how to treat each other.
We don't.
We're not. So
We don't.
when you did ask Alicia that question,
Yeah.
like I thought she was going to throw it back at you and say, "Are you doing it to men?
Oh,
No,
you-
you're not.
you mean-
We're
you
not.
mean that
This is
podcast?
why we're here."
Yeah.
You mean that podcast? Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
all right,
yeah,
fair
yeah.
enough.
I thought it was going to be flipped back because ultimately we've spoken about it today. We don't know how to have these conversations. Don't know how to support. Don't know how to process our emotions, how to understand our emotions, how to articulate them. But then we end today by saying, "But are women doing this for us?" Control. Can I say this? We got to control the controllables, and we're the ones in control of what we're
Yes,
in control
absolutely,
of.
absolutely.
And only then, when we're in that space, do I feel like we can move to someone else.
Definitely.
Because we're not in control of the females in our lives. Nah, we're in control of us.
That's a good message, man. Chris.
That's not my message, by the way. I've got.
Oh yeah. No.
That's my main message either. Yeah.
Chris, any like
Any
on
added?
it? Yeah.
No, I think this is a massive, long topic. There's a lot to cover.
Of course.
I think we should definitely do another one because there's too many things to kind of go over.
Absolutely.
To get it all in a nutshell, I don't think I can do.
Mhm.
But we're on the start. We're on the verge of it.
Absolutely.
We've started.
Yeah.
But you know, just briefly going back to what you just said, men speaking to men about it is one thing, but really, I think the main issue is how we can put it out
Yeah.
to then receive it back. If that makes sense.
100%, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Put what we need out there and to receive it back. That's
Yeah.
where we're having the problem. That's what we've got to kind of figure out. So maybe it's more work on our part as well to figure out a bit more. But as I say, there's a lot more we could kind of go into.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, we'll you know, maybe we'll carry on and
Yeah, definitely.
we'll get some more out of it next time. You know.
Absolutely. Any more closing notes?
Yeah. Romaine, would you go?
You carry on.
I should carry on. Thank you very much. So my closing message is that it's great that we've actually started this conversation, and I know that whenever a conversation starts, it helps to actually make the difference because one person will pick it up from where it was ended the last time and we continuing. And I would actually encourage everyone that it's not going to come easy because we are a generation that has started talking about men's mental
Yeah.
health. Prior to that, we didn't come to meet any kind of blueprint
Mhm.
on how we should actually talk about
Yeah.
because a lot of people, if they came to meet it, they feel like
Mhm.
that could have actually end up
Yeah.
helping a lot. So if we have got opportunity to start this conversation, we shouldn't actually let it be flat.
Absolutely, yeah.
We should just
Mhm.
continue building up on it.
Yep.
We should continue getting that kind of support. If you are trying to help your fellow gentlemen and it's not helping, you could actually signpost them and everything. Because at the end of the day, we have to also put our mental health into consideration as well. With me personally, as I always actually end up doing, I will help you and I will end up signposting you. At the same time, I will pray for you because I'm a very religious person. It's not everything as Christian, it's not everything that we could actually do in our own capacity, in our own capability. We have to actually invite God into it to
Yes.
actually end up giving us the right direction as well and the wisdom to be able to support a brother as well. So I would say that that is actually a great way to start as well. And women as well, I would say that women also have got a role to play, but it all starts from us men
Oh, absolutely.
taking the
Yes.
priority upon ourselves,
Definitely.
having these conversations, not shying away, not actually just pushing this conversation aside, but engaging. Anything that you could actually do to actually propel this conversation will go a long way to save a brother out there as well.
Oh,
And
100%.
advocacy, as we made mention of it from this podcast, that there are so many ways that we could go about it. We need to educate ourselves. And if you find yourself in a space where this conversation is going on, avail yourself to it. You could be a listener and you can pick up a point to be able to amplify it in a different setting.
Yeah.
I believe that all of us as men have got a role to play, regardless of your background, regardless of the race you're coming from,
Facts.
regardless of the social class you're coming from. We all are affected by our mental health. And once we end up coming together as a community to be able to talk against toxic masculinity, to talk against the pressures, the societal pressures put on men, we ain't gonna be free.
Yeah. Love that.
November 19th, guys.
Yes.
19th of November.
Yes.
There's a
19th
party on the
November,
17th as well.
Yeah, we can start from the 17th and end on the 19th,
Yeah.
2 days.
Yes, 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll keep it short. So for me, I always liked, we spoke about the how, so what are the things that we can do? So I'd like to leave people with
Absolutely.
a parting gift. So 3 areas of concentration that I'd like us to think about and things that we can do to improve. One would be, how do we create safe spaces for men to speak in? So the 2 words that I mentioned earlier on, so emotional literacy. So how do we improve our emotional literacy to understand, process and speak about mental health? How do we become safe in that space when we're there? And number 3, allyship, what we've all touched on. So allyship starts within us. So for me, when I see a behaviour that I displayed that I don't really like, do we challenge it? Or do we just let it play out?
Yeah.
As men, do we do that? Because if we let it play out, we're a part of the problem.
Absolutely.
So next time you see something happen and you think that was out of order, you've not said anything, just remember you can be part of the problem.
If we don't talk about it, we are perpetrators.
And that,
Yeah.
and then the allyship obviously extends the to the women. And then
Definitely.
I'd like to end on some statistics if I can remember off the top of my head. So ultimately, we did this podcast today because men's mental health is just massive at the moment.
Absolutely.
So I've read something recently. He's talked about how 700,000 people committed suicide in a year. So of those, 115 people commit suicide in the UK a week. That's 75% of them male. 75%.
Yeah, I think I read that same stat earlier.
75%.
It says it all, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
So that's why we're having these conversations. When people have it, people saying, it gives me the ick if men cry. But how does it feel if that's your brother dying? Or your boyfriend dying?
A man crying is not an egg. Just making that
I don't think
clarification.
women even realise the number. I think they hear it here and there, but a lot of women, if you say it's 75%, they may not actually. Probably is. A lot of them are completely.
And that's just people who've been successful.
Wow.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
So you got to remember the people who haven't been successful.
Exactly.
So you've got people who suicidal thoughts.
What I was going to say. Yeah. A lot of people.
Suicidal.
I mean, I think you're right though. I think a lot of men do.
1 in 15 people have suicidal thoughts.
I think
self-harm.
I think maybe, I don't know, maybe not yourself, but I think a lot of people, including myself, I've got to a point at times where I thought, forget all this.
Yeah, no,
But
100%.
again, I know there's a reality switch in my head that I know deep down that, it's not going to go that far. Although in the moment it doesn't always feel like that.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of men have those thoughts, as you say, but unfortunately some will.
Some will.
Some will.
And we've spoken about it before. There's times where I've thought about it, but then I also think about the aftermath.
Well, yeah.
How it affects my mum,
Again, this
my
is another
sister, grandma.
Are we starting
chaos.
a podcast right now?
But just clarify.
what I was thinking.
Apparently, if you have a conversation with someone who has made that attempt, they will end up telling you that none of these thoughts after aftermath came to my head. The only thing I cared about was
Was my
how
own thing.
I want to just
Well, they don't
do it.
think about that.
Mhm.
No.
They don't.
They don't.
But it
I
was
believe
after that conversation. That's when I thought about it.
I thought
The mess it leaves.
I thought the thought process was, well, with a lot of people, you don't know, do you?
You don't know.
Sometimes
That's
you don't
true.
know.
Yeah.
But people say is that they feel like people would be better off without them.
Yes.
So they are thinking about other people, but they're saying your lives are better without me.
Without me.
There might be a
And
few
some
good
people,
solutions.
some men also
Yeah.
find themselves that when they are at that point in time, they are the problem. They want to get rid of themselves, and people's life can move on.
Yeah.
They don't want to. They see themselves as a burden.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
There is probably 2 or 3 reasons mainly that someone will do it, and you probably touch on 2 of them. But yeah, it just leaves a mess behind.
Yeah,
Complete
100%.
mess.
100%.
It's again, I think you need a whole new time to
Yeah, no,
We need to
definitely.
go
into that, 'cause
Definitely.
that's
Yeah,
come to
we'll
that.
definitely come together and
We
do
can
that
do that
again.
anyway.
Where
Well,
can
thanks for
people...
having us on, Tech,
No,
man.
listen,
appreciate that. It's been
guys,
brilliant.
thank you so much for
fun.
taking
Thank
the
you
time.
very much, Money.
Honestly, thank you guys. Honestly, appreciate it. Before we do officially sign off, where can people find you? Like, plug your socials, anything that you're working on project-wise.
I think you can go. You can start first. You can start starting
No,
because
that's fine. That's fine.
yeah,
that's fine.
man.
You can find me on Instagram on Romaine Rowe. I think that's my handle. You find me. I'm not really out there like that. You find me. So, like I say, I specialise in men's mental health. Try and spread the message as much as I can on social media. Just finishing writing a book as well. Some books.
Wow. Congratulations, man. That's dope. That's lit. That's
not easy
lit.
work.
Congratulations, man.
Congratulations, bro. Honestly.
Yeah, I don't do the old.
The finished part.
I'm actually following your footsteps because I've got one coming out as well.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
But it's
bro.
not
Honestly,
easy. I
that's dope.
started as well. It's
Oh,
not easy.
it's not easy.
Wait, what did we speak about earlier on?
That one leads a whole podcast.
We compare
Yeah, that's
yourself
what I'm
to
saying.
people.
We need a whole podcast to talk about the process. I'm
Why-
telling you.
Comparing yourself to me, man. I had my moment. I moment.
It's true.
No.
You took his moment.
I've got a book coming out. So do I. So do I.
He's older. He's as older. What's his word? How you were in school as well.
Yeah.
Coming out.
No.
Revert back to your real self.
I'm following the footsteps of Romaine because I'll take all the tips from him how the process is like.
Oh,
So
it's a hard. It's not easy.
Oh,
it's not simple,
easy.
is it?
It's not.
But
Like we
yeah,
played you.
Money. No, I don't do my socials, mate. So I'm not going to plug anything. But
Sure.
you're going to tag me anyway.
Yeah,
my
yeah, sure,
Instagram,
sure.
but,
No worries.
Yeah, no, nothing to plug as of yet.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, thank
That's
you,
fine.
mate. Thank
No
you
worries,
for
no worries.
option.
Yeah, so you can find me on my social medias. The ones I'm active on are Instagram, LinkedIn, and I would say Twitter. So made mention of it earlier on. It's X. Sorry, my bad. I'm still in the old age with Twitter. It's X.
Yeah.
So on Instagram, you can find me on BIGQUAMMY Big Quammy, and my name is OOK, which is Osewusu Quammy, and on LinkedIn, Kwame Ose Owusu, and on X is Big Kwame 05, which I have actually released my project, which is an unidentified identity, and you can find it on streaming platforms like Spotify, Boomplay, Pandora, Tidal, and you can also add it to your stories on Facebook, Instagram, and actually on Snapchat. And it's an unidentified identity, which one of the tracks is Be a Man. It's
Be a Man,
actually
yeah.
addressing men's mental health, which Amani has actually posted today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's all good, bro.
And the whole point of this project is to take my advocacy in men's mental health to a different level and mental health in general, because the streaming, the proceeds that come from the streaming, 50% of it is going to go towards my new project in Ghana, which is mental health education.
Amazing.
To be able to provide that kind of education to young people and to be able to help explore ways that we can do to help our community as well. So please, if you get this opportunity, the link is on my bio or is in my bio. Feel free to stream it and share with me what you like about the project. Thank you.
Nah, bro. Guys, Gentlemen, thank you so much, man. Appreciate
Thank you,
it, man.
It's a pleasure.
Guys, that's been the Tech Time Podcast, episode 6. Like I said, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow on all social media platforms. I've been your host, Tech Time himself. He is me and I am him. Peace. We are gone.